Hello everybody, welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
We're so close, James. I feel like we should be holding hands here.
Do you want to do it?
Should we hold hands? It's not the end of another game week.
It is for me, because I'm all out, mate. What about you?
Virgil van Dijk, who has scored 0 points in the last 2 consecutive game weeks. You owe me, bastard. I haven't got Salah. I thought you were going to buy Salah.
I thought about it hard. Really hard, yeah. It was the most indecisive I'd been for quite a while. I knew before deadline what I was doing. I'd made my peace that I was just going to make the one transfer, but I looked at several -8s, which would have involved getting Mo Salah, and I decided not to.
Ooh, I thought you were going to hurt me tonight with Mo Salah. I mean, Ollie Watkins has done the damage already, to be fair, but it was a very bizarre FPL game week, I would say, in the sense that by the time Man City kicked off, other than Ollie Watkins, there was not many returns anywhere. Like all of the highly owned players for sure. No pun intended, Luke Shaw yesterday, but none of the highly owned players had particularly returned. I think I'd had 6 or 7 players by the time Man City kicked off, all 2s or 1s, like literally nothing, including my Brighton players as well. If it felt like, so up until Man City kicked off, it felt like Watkins owners and the rest, because he has decent ownership. Then Haaland does what he does, and it kind of levels it out a little bit for everybody. Although tonight, it could be a case that Salah again is the Salah and Watkins owners.
Oh yeah, we're not finished yet.
The rest, yeah, for sure. I'm on 51 points at the moment, James. I decided I was umming and ahhing between 2 things. One was going to Man City, Haaland and Grealish for Ivan Toney and Mo Salah, which also included me free hitting this week, so getting Mo Salah back. So
you know you're doing that now?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the alternative was to not free hit this week and use my 2 free transfers to replace players that didn't have a fixture this week, and then I could keep my free hit for further down in the season. And the decision ended up being, when am I going to use my free hit again? Because regular listeners know I've still got my wild card, and if I'm wild carding 34, I'm pretty much going to set myself up for 34 and 37, and I've got enough transfers in between the 2 to make any adjustments that I want to. So when am I going to use my free hit again, as opposed to if I go Haaland now and he goes off and I've still got my free hit next week, it's fine. And obviously he did go off in 45 minutes. So it ended up being the right decision to go with Haaland and captain him.
It's an interesting play on that, actually. The idea that almost in a weird way, if you've not bought Haaland this week, who would you have captained?
Kane.
Fucking hell.
Yeah,
so,
Kane at Bournemouth, home to Bournemouth, which is a good choice, though, as a captain on paper.
Almost in a weird way. We talk about kind of gains on a free hit. I generally look for about 25-ish or so.
I made it this week.
So well, that's it. If you'd not
and
bought
Grealish, remember,
Haaland,
he's a 7-pointer there.
Yeah, if you probably would have done that anyway, maybe. If you'd not bought Haaland this week and captained Kane, the amount you'd lost, and then by saving that free hit chip for later, that's interesting.
Yeah, I also toyed with the idea of going Martinelli instead of Grealish, because I fancied Arsenal to smash West Ham yesterday. And for the first...
So did everyone else 10 minutes in?
Well, for the first 30 minutes, if I'm honest with you, because after they'd gone 2-0 up, the level of control on the game was ridiculous. But I decided in the end that because of the extra doubles that City had, get Grealish in and leave him in there. And then if I need to go back to Martinelli...
Does that, mate, if you're going to wild card?
No, but I'll keep him. And he went up 2 pips in value last week
in on the
as
value.
Well. It's not the biggest deal.
I wouldn't have let that decide the decision.
But here's the other thing. It wasn't just the value. It was also that I own Saka and I own Ben White at the moment. And I like Gabriel Jesus at the moment. So if I go with Martinelli and end up holding him, then I have to forego Gabriel Jesus.
I guess in theory, you could wildcard in 33 maybe,
That's probably my plan, is to wildcard 33 if I can.
So it's only 1 week choice then, isn't it?
This week.
What did Martinelli get?
5, I think.
Or did he get bonus? I can't remember. Cool.
Not sure. I didn't pay much attention to it.
I mean, Grealish's 7 has a little bit of air of fortuitous nature to it, because obviously it was a handball from a cross. He goes off before they concede. He ends up getting an extra pip
Cheeky
on the bonus as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a little bit fortuitous there maybe.
I'll take it. Look, at the moment, it's not great. If Van Dijk can pull me up a 6-pointer today, just a clean sheet will do very well. And then 57, I think I'll be all right. I'll be on a greyish arrow, still sitting around 150k. Set enough. Like, my goal is still to get a 5-figure rank. Like, since we started this podcast, we're now talking about nearly 6 years.
Where are you?
I've never had a 5-figure rank.
Where
176 at the moment.
Yeah, of course. It's I mean, particularly with a wild card in hand. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, more than doable. There's just kind of bumps in the road at the moment, last couple of weeks, where it's not been clean, smooth sailing.
Okay. For myself, up to about 265k, but all out. So I don't think Salah can do me too much damage. Now, obviously, if he returns, I'm going to drop a bit. But I've jumped 40,000 places this week on 63 points at the moment. Not many returns. Basically, we've mentioned it. Grealish, Haaland captain, Ollie Watkins. If you had captain Haaland and got Ollie Watkins, or started Ollie Watkins at least, because I've seen him on a bench for a number of teams, you've probably had a green this week, just by appearance points elsewhere. Yep. The only other thing I've got is David Raya's 5 points from the weekend. I've got Kepa's 6 points on the bench. I say 63, I meant 64, because I've got Rico Henry's going to auto-sub him for his 1 point over Luke Shaw. I got Grealish in for
Maddison.
Thank you, Suj. Yeah, it was easy to forget him, actually. Kept Rashford, kept Luke Shaw. I'll be free hitting this week. And I guess we'll speak a lot when we talk about the games about options for this week, but we'll try and measure it for longer term as well. Is it worth speaking about?
I think the majority of people don't have a wild card. I think the majority don't and the minority do, the second wild card. So whoever people...
No, but it feels like the majority of people are free hitting this week.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But that's our bubble, right? Remember, the wider game and non-listeners and stuff, that's not necessarily the case. We know there's plenty of people that have already used it. So we'll have a look at a few teams that's certainly targetable for working through this week and the doubles, which probably means, I think, before we do the games, so maybe we should have a little chat about Liverpool, who obviously play Leeds tonight, because free hitters, I think, almost certainly are going to have 3 of them. And I think for those who are not free hitting and out of chips, Liverpool's probably same. It's probably the team to target the most, isn't it? As they covered this week, great fixture, got a double in 34. The others that are really of interest, 34 in terms of doubles, so City, Brighton, Manchester United, obviously don't play this week. So if you're carrying through and you've not got a Mo Salah, that's probably priority number 1 that the majority are going to be thinking. Firstly, captaincy for the weekend. I think that Saka penalty miss yesterday is going to push the majority of people towards Salah. Recency affects people.
Listen, I think my take on it is that they will smash Southampton at home. They'll come back. They played well for the first 30, 35 minutes. They're still a great footballing team, but we were very, very aggressive. And to be fair, Southampton, if they play that pressing style, could cause similar problems to them. But home fixture, and now I think goal difference is going to be on their mind. Like when they were 2-0 up against us, they're probably thinking, if get a couple more, that chips away a bit of the goal difference. Now I think Southampton is the one where they're like, come on, let's go and win it convincingly and get our season and title challenge back on track, because that gives them a 7-point gap over Man City before they go there. And I know the game's in hand, but points on the board kind of matter a little more at this stage of the season. So it's going to be an Arsenal player, and it's going to be an Arsenal offensive player. And which one, I can't tell you yet.
Okay. How many goals do you think Southampton conceded in their 4 away games on the Ruben Selles?
I'm not sure, if I'm honest with you.
Just have a guess. Guess a number.
Sure.
Guess a number.
4 away games. They conceded at our place, 1. I'm going to say 3 goals.
2.
Okay. Makes us amazing then, doesn't it?
Yes, the other team that scored against them were Leeds. They kept clean sheets at Stamford Bridge and at Old Trafford. Now, that's just to give you both sides of the narrative. I think, obviously, yes, we expect Arsenal to do well this coming week. But then, did you watch Nottingham Forest yesterday, Suj?
Yeah, they're bad.
Jeez.
I didn't. I was on my way back from our game, but from all that I've seen and heard.
2-0 was not a fair reflection of that game yesterday. United could have got anything. They cut through them really easily. And Liverpool, I think, will probably do similar, to be honest.
It's kind of helpful at this stage of the season that there's a lot of teams with stuff to play for, because Southampton will still be fighting for their lives.
Well, so will Forest.
But then Liverpool will smell top 4 after Newcastle slipped up, especially if they win today. So, it's all to play for still.
I think I'll be captain Salah. I think part of that as well is, I wouldn't be surprised, say, for example, if Arsenal and Liverpool both won 4-0 this weekend. I think if you do that, you could go the Arsenal player and completely miss.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same as Saka yesterday, right? In that they scored a couple of goals, spread it around. That's the problem with Arsenal, they spread it around.
That doesn't feel like that can happen with Salah.
Yeah.
Remembering the 9-0 when he blanked.
He'll be in and around it. So, I can see that. Home tie for Liverpool as well. It's going to be a real tight call. I just think Arsenal, they got to win.
I think if Salah scores tonight, I think he'll be the most popular choice, I think, for captaincy at the weekend. And I think with Arsenal, what you'll get is more of a split. We're not saying Arsenal's not the right choice, but you'll get some will go Saka, some will go Martinelli. You might even get a few will go Jesus, who's got, 4 in his last 3, for example. Just while I remember it, obviously Ainsley Maitland-Niles been playing right back, Cole Walker-Peters left back. Maitland-Niles obviously can't play against Arsenal, parent club, so presumably Walker-Peters will go to right back. Probably Romain Perraud will probably play left back. That would possibly fit into the narrative of making Saka better. But I think there's also a narrative where since Jesus has come back in the team, which is obviously recently, and looking further back earlier in the season as well, it arguably edges towards Martinelli as a better choice than Saka maybe this week. But they're all great choices.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Saka,
it's nice to have the
I'm sure I saw on YouTube, Robbie from AFTV was saying that Saka has the highest goal involvement in Europe for the season so far. So it might feel like sometimes Martinelli's the best choice and Jesus is getting in amongst the goals. Saka's got the highest goal involvement in Europe. So that's pretty, and that's not verified. It's YouTube, but still, that's pretty leans towards Saka, as he's always Mr. Consistent there and thereabouts. But yesterday, particularly, like, Jesus was all over the pitch. Like, he's popping up in midfield, left wing, right wing. When he's not playing in that central position, Martinelli's the one that's going to fill that hole. So I'm with you in Martinelli over Saka is my likely. At the moment, it's between the Gabriels, Jesus and Martinelli.
Do you think Saka will stand pens?
Yeah.
Agreed.
He missed one for England and then he's back on it for Arsenal, and he hasn't missed one since he missed one for England. Game state there, I just didn't feel like he was going to score.
Really?
Yeah, it's just something about it was controversial. Then the wait for the VAR, and then there was just something about it in the atmosphere that was like feels a bit harsh, and it was like justice done for a harsh penalty. That would be argued.
What I was thinking in my head was, I know Flappy's not bad at pens. Pull one out here, mate. Is what I was thinking.
Yeah, but he didn't need to.
No.
Congratulations if you own Flappy in Sky, because he gets all the penalty save
no
points.
No one owns Flappy in Sky, mate.
Let's talk about some of these games, because there was some
there's
interesting
not.
results.
Liverpool.
Oh, go on. You were going to say.
A free hits are going to go with 3.
Yeah, well, Salah's a given.
Salah's 1. The other 2?
So, let's see where Trent plays tonight, because if he's playing that kind of midfield inverted role again, I think he'll be particularly popular. And
that can make cases for and against him, and it's the same with Robertson as well.
He's explosive, though, is Trent. And then I'm not sure on the other. I don't know who to pair up. Jota might get minutes. Núñez might get minutes. Diaz is back in training. I don't know.
Going across Twitter at the weekend, it looks like the majority are going to set up with Trent and Robertson.
If it was me, I'd potentially go Alisson.
Really? Why?
Just safer, isn't it?
It's a free hit.
It's boring. It's safe.
This safe shit. It's a free hit, mate.
Well, who are you going to go in goal? Nick Pope?
Probably be my 11th choice. Goalkeepers is more randomness, right? You can look at someone like Sam Johnson at home to Everton. I'm not saying I won't go for him, for example, but I'd think it's probably 6 or 2, isn't it?
Yeah.
I kind of want to go for the keeper that, like, something like Emi Martinez away to Brentford, where, like, if they keep a clean sheet, I know it could be quite big. That's kind of what I'm thinking in my mind. Robertson has got more capability to massively outscore Alisson at home to Forest than the other way around. It's not that It's not that Alisson can't, Alisson can save a penalty. Shit can happen, right? But Alisson's not likely to make a number of saves in that fixture that's going to put him above a Robertson, for example. And in most cases, money's not an issue for free hits. I think for me, it's probably, I think I'll go Trent. I think, and it's Robertson versus Núñez for me. Subject to what I see from Núñez tonight.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's, so Salah's for certain, one defensive, and I want to add another attacking rather than double defensive. I don't think that particularly
Can't see me going for Gakpo, so there's your game week 32 high scorer right there, Cody Gakpo.
Do you know who I want to go for, but I don't think I have the confidence to go for is Shota. I feel like
It's not scored since
I know
last
but
April.
I want him to. I feel like I want him to, and I feel like I need him to come back. So yeah,
go on, then you go for him. Right, let's talk about the games.
Well, let's see. I want to see how many minutes he gets tonight. That's quite like Liverpool. How they line up tonight is going to have quite an impact on my thoughts. And how
you've also got, it's worth saying, the potential, again, obviously haven't played yet this week, potential rotation concerns in a few places. Is Forest at home? Could Tsimikas play instead of Robertson? Does Núñez start? Does he not start? We know he's been carrying a little bit of an issue. Luis Diaz is back available. It'd be difficult to think that he would start, but that's going to impact minutes for the weekend as well, because that's a good fixture to get him in, and obviously he's highly likely to be on the bench for Liverpool tonight, and they'll try and get him on if they can. That's worth bearing in mind as well. I think Salah, Trent, definite. I think.
Let's talk about these games then. Starting early kickoff, Aston Villa 3, Newcastle 0. One of a few surprise kind of results at the weekend. Well deserved. I thought when they were 1-0 up at half time, I dodged. Watkins just got an assist. That's all right. I can stomach that. To end the game with 2 goals and an assist was particularly difficult. I don't own him in any formats of fantasy. It's a little bit hard to overlook now. He's 7.7, so it's creeping up bit by bit in price. What are your thoughts? Like, do you think if you didn't own him, you'd now go and get him? They've got fairly good fixtures between now and the end of the season. Well,
free hitters, fine, but would I actually go and buy him now at this stage, having missed all this?
You don't think so?
Probably not, unless I was looking to chain it on to something else. So you could make the case maybe to go Watkins this week. 33 at home to Fulham. We've mentioned this. He is an alternative captaincy option for that game because the fixtures are rough across the board. Although I think most of us will probably, as long as he's fit, just
no double, right? Just
go Haaland with a home fixture against Arsenal. But then, yes, they go to Manchester United in game week 34. Do you want to play that?
No.
So, maybe in for him for a couple of weeks and then move it on to something else in 34 that's got a double, maybe. But otherwise, no, I'd let it go. Like, you wildcard 33, I don't think I'd get him unless it was 1 week. Not because he's bad or anything, just...
Now it's done.
It's just the extra on fixtures and stuff.
That run in Liverpool, Spurs, Brighton. It's like they've got to beat everybody that's in the hunt for Europe to get into Europe.
You say that, right? But then they've got Tottenham to come, and yeah. Liverpool away. Liverpool might have nothing to play for. 37. Brighton own 38. Brighton might have nothing to play for. Who knows, right? So that little last 3. Tottenham, Liverpool, Brighton might not be as bad as it looks on paper. United away 34, Wolves away 35. I'd look at them fixtures and ask myself, how many times could he potentially replicate what he's done this week? 33 would feel like the only... 33 and 36 would feel like the only ones, maybe. But he was superb, as was the majority of the Villa team. I'm not going to spit about him in much detail as I normally would, because Lee Jackson's coming on Clash of Correspondents tomorrow, and I'm going to do a piece on talking tactics from the game on Saturday as well, which centres a lot around the positioning of the midfield players. So the thing is with Villa, you look at them on paper, you think Ramsey and McGinn in the wide areas, and it can feel a bit bland. What they've got is real energy, and what Ramsey particularly did at the weekend was moved from left very quickly into a kind of left half space 10 position, and Buendia was managing to work the pockets between Newcastle's defensive line and midfield really well. The spaces in that area I've not seen as big in a Newcastle
normally
game this season.
Normally the centre-backs push on quite hard.
I think they really missed Longstaff,
Yeah.
They didn't play with him, and I bet he probably comes back in versus Tottenham at the weekend. And Villa found it pretty easy to either play through the lines, or I think the problem Newcastle had was in terms of the spacing, because I think they are a team that generally is happy to go quite deep, and they go quite narrow defensively as well. Watkins hit the post after about 30 seconds, and I think it bothered them. They were like, shit, he wants to run in behind. So the consciousness on that is don't let that happen again. So you drop off, and then the spaces are too big from there. It was a combination of, and I think this is fair to say, Villa's best performance of the season and Newcastle's worst.
Yep.
And 3-0 was a pretty fair reflection of the game, actually. And there was some outstanding performers. One Villa player I've not seen in a lot of free hit teams I'm really considering is Moreno.
Okay.
Because I feel he's 4.4. I mean, for free hitters, that value is probably not that important. And sure, it looks like a tough game at Brentford. But the upside of that, I mean, he was just bombing down that left flank. He assisted, obviously, Watkins' second goal. Watkins had a goal disallowed just before that for a very narrow offside, which also would have been assisted by Moreno. And he really was going beyond. As Ramsey came inside, he really was just kept flying down that side. He gave Kieran Trippier a really tough game, actually. And I think he's an interesting one. He's one as well, I think, if you're looking for a short-term fix to buy, 32, 33, benching 34, that sort of thing, and it helps a bit with your value, I really think he can be considered. And I think with him, we've been quite hesitant, because it's like every time we thought, okay, there's minutes now for Luca Dean. The way he played at the weekend, yeah, he's staying in that team.
And there's always been kind of debate about whether or not to go for one of the centre-backs. I mean, Mings has been pretty locked in because of Costa being in the background.
Tyrone Mings has been
that's pretty locked.
Outstanding last couple of months.
So you think Moreno, Mings, if you own, they're stable, they're not leaving that team now then?
Yeah, I think the three Villa I would consider this week is Martinez, Moreno, Watkins. Ramsey's like not a bad pick, particularly if he was going to play where he played at the weekend, and same with Buendia. But I think for the 1 week, there's probably some better choices at similar values. Watkins would be a really tough sell on free hit. Again, we say every week, blanked twice in all of Unai Emery's games that he started so far. And he does feel like he's going to be at the hub of it. Like if I said to you now, right, Villa are going to win 2-0 at the weekend, you feel like he won't blank. That's how it feels at the moment. So I imagine I'll probably stick with him, which makes me almost want to get a little bit more Villa. And I think Moreno, I think I will go for Moreno or Martinez actually. And I'll go with it. Even though I don't necessarily fancy them for a clean sheet at Brentford, they're playing well enough, and I think there's upside on those two selections that particularly interest me. However, Newcastle interests me more this week. Well,
I think you're going to say that mainly because of the opposition more than actually Newcastle themselves. Although Newcastle have been good. They've 5 wins on the bounce before this. I already own 3. Trippier, Botman, Isak. I think Isak and Trippier I'm cool with keeping. Botman's a decision to be made. I'll probably just hold him as well, unless I go Pope as my goalkeeper. But I think with Newcastle, it's going to be double defence and one attacker rather than the other way around. What happened to Anthony Gordon? I thought he was booted out and they'd had a fight or something. Did they all kiss and make up or something?
So he got replaced really late on at the victory at Brentford.
He threw his toys out the pram and was a bit mouthy with Eddie Howe.
And Eddie Howe dealt with the situation, it seemed really, really well to kind of get him back on side. It also felt a little bit like that was why he started. Now, Alan St.
I thought I'd heard rumours that he'd been sent to the under-21s to train for the rest of the season.
It was parody, mate.
Oh, was that? Fair play. I didn't know if that was legit.
Someone was on a wind-up on the bird mate. No, he wasn't. But they weren't better off for him starting.
No.
And I think that, as I said, I think Longstaff will come back into the team at the weekend. And I wouldn't be surprised if Newcastle's front three has a very different look. Almiron obviously came on as a sub and looked briefly pretty lively. And Newcastle had their best spell of the game just after Almiron came on. But I think they'll go back to a three of Guimaraes, Longstaff with Joel Linton and Willock interchanging against Tottenham. And I think both Joel Linton and Willock are quite interesting for the weekend. Joel Linton 5.9, Willock 4.7. I think that primarily when I speak about them, I'm referencing 4 free hitters. But yeah, Trippier and Isak are definites for me. And then I would like to go a third, and it will be between Pope, Cher, Almiron, Willock, Joel Linton. I think all 5 of them are potentially viable. I think there's more choices from Newcastle this week than probably any other team for free hitters. I think they will absolutely wipe the floor with us, Suj. They are, for me, and they didn't look it at the weekend, admittedly, they've been the most intense team in this league, I think, this season. And Tottenham have probably been the least. And that atmosphere at St James's Park is going to be like big. They know they probably will feel they should have no fear about Tottenham, but probably can feel Villa, Newcastle, Brighton, Liverpool, subject to result tonight, because Liverpool, remember, will play twice before that game on Sunday, that the pressure will be on. So I think Newcastle will be going all out for victory. And I genuinely cannot see anything bar Newcastle winning extremely comfortably. I wouldn't be surprised if Newcastle beats about 4-0 on Sunday.
We said that about Arsenal West Ham this week. Well,
not everybody did. No, you did. I didn't.
Everybody did.
And it's worth saying you probably don't think Newcastle will beat Tottenham 3 or 4-0 at the weekend, but I do.
But I think they'll beat you comfortably. Whether or not the score's high, they'll beat you comfortably in terms of it won't be difficult for them. 2-0, I think, 2 or 3.
I think there's some differentials in that Newcastle. Ironically, Almiron might be one that suddenly is a differential. It's a little risky because he obviously needs some match fitness, so probably doesn't play 90. I think Joel Linton and Willock could be really good punts this week.
Chelsea won, Brighton 2. Now, neither of these two teams play. So from a free hit point of view, we're not talking about any of their assets this week necessarily. I mean, some will still want to go to Brighton assets because if they're not on free hit, because they've still got, not this week, but I mean in the future, because they've still got so many doubles and what have you. I'm kind of still surprised. You know, like a Chelsea this average now, bang average, because 26 shots to concede at home. Like I haven't heard anybody say that this was anything other than a should have been more Brighton victory, and that they just played football that was just too good for Chelsea. Yet I look at it and I look at the players in the pitch, I look at the players in Chelsea's squad, and I'm like, how are they just an average team at the moment? Because that's all they are.
Look, there was a lot of changes from recent games. There was 6 changes from the Wolves game. There was also 6 changes from the Madrid game.
Fofana, Badiashile, they're not bad centre-backs.
No, but I would...
You've still got a decent
I would
team
think
there.
If Chelsea put their strongest team on the pitch at the moment, I would still think Brighton would beat them.
Based on anyway, doesn't it?
No, it also says more about Brighton.
Yeah.
You know what I think of them, right? But yeah, there was a ginormous disparity between the quality of these two teams. Chelsea are focusing on tomorrow night, right? The season's finished. You've got nothing to play for. Brighton gone into the game feeling like they were completely robbed at Tottenham last week, and rightly so. And were very motivated that they could prove that they could go and win this sort of game away from home. And we shouldn't be surprised about it. Brighton went into the game as favourites. I think I saw last night that the bookies have got narrow favourites to beat United in the Cup semi-final on Sunday.
Wow.
Like, stop the... Is Brighton... No, they're a bloody good football team.
I think everybody's stopped with the, it's Brighton now, just because of how good they've been playing. I'm still confused with Chelsea at the moment. And I mean, Frank has been in for 3 games. They've lost them all.
Has he lost 14 of his last 17 games as a manager or something? It's been a good start, hasn't it? Would there have been any worse with Potter this last week?
I saw a great parody, which was that the board are looking to sack Lampard and their number one choice is Thomas Tuchel to come into Origin. That would be a nice full circle.
He's not started great at Bayern, by the way.
I don't think they're in the best of shape, are they? I mean, I'm not looking at any Chelsea assets. I've got 2 at the Bastards in Kepa and Chilwell. When I wildcard, I can't see myself coming out with them necessarily. Well, definitely not too defensive. I might leave one in there in Chilwell. Particularly if they lose in the Champions League.
I think I had this discussion with a few people just prior to the deadline about Chelsea's Chelsea go to Bournemouth in 35, and they've got Forest at home in 36, and then it's almost definitely obviously double in 37. That double is away games to the 2 Manchester clubs, so it's not great. And they finish with Newcastle at home. And you look at that 35 and 36, and you think, God, Chilwell could be a great little differential there. The problem with the 36 game especially is, which is the Forest game at home, where you look at it and you think, could he drop a little 15-pointer there for me or something? Start considering what your bench is going to look like in game week 36 if the Newcastle-Brighton game goes in now, which if City get through in the Champions League is almost a certainty. Because, wow, there's going to be some benching headaches that week. Massively. And therefore, it does make you even more think, why do I even... If you look at Chelsea, it's a perfect case of, getting doublers for the sake of it. Chelsea in 37 go to United and Man City. A lot will have Liverpool players lingering from 34's double, right? Liverpool have Villa at home, which is obviously a tougher fixture now. But if you're sitting there with nothing to do in 37, say you got Darwin Núñez and you think he's going to start, you go from Darwin Núñez to Havertz in 37. just because Chelsea have got the double, or João Felix instead? Or do you go, I'm going to go Mo Salah to Raheem Sterling, or I'm going to go Trent to Ben Chilwell? I don't think you probably are. So, yeah, I think Chelsea players can potentially go. I think on Kepa, it's worth saying he was probably the standout performer for Chelsea at the weekend. And Frank Lampard's quotes last Friday very much alluded to the fact that he was very happy with Kepa at the moment. And why he performs like that, which essentially kept Chelsea in the game at the weekend, he'll stay in the team.
Yep.
So I think neither Kepa or Chilwell are pressing issues because they're both likely to start the majority of games for Chelsea. And as it stands, they're probably going to go out the Champions League tomorrow night. But we've seen them pull off miracles in this competition before. I think if they go through, you're thinking, shit, I need to get rid. Because a little bit like this weekend, all eyes and focus will be on that. If I said to a Chelsea fan now, listen, you're going to finish below Palace, but you're going to get to the final, they're all going to take it, aren't they? So Chelsea's season essentially becomes about that. They might find that if they go out in terms of league performances, they play with a little bit more freedom. Fixture tough. You're not going to play your Chelsea assets away to Arsenal in 34, for example. So I think largely they're binnable, but not the priority. You're certainly not buying new. For Brighton, a couple of interesting notes. Sanchez in goal, which followed on. There was some concern about
to check the goalkeeper.
Well, there was comments from De Zerbi which seemed a little bit strange. About he said, we've got a few problems, we need to check it out. And then when he was pushing it, he said, I need to check the goalkeeper, I need to check the defenders. And I read it as in he just stopped short of saying, I need to check the midfielders and the attackers as well. As in like, I need to check everyone, tomorrow's tomorrow. Obviously still didn't play. And I didn't find out till after the deadline that actually Brighton had an open training session during the week, which still left early. So a little bit of a minor problem mainly. Now, of course, in terms of from an FPL perspective, you've got the FA Cup semi-final this weekend. So before...
We're playing them anyway. All three.
Well, they ain't got a fixture. Yeah. So before 33 comes around, there's a little bit of information to learn in terms of Steele's fitness. I imagine, not that Sanchez did anything particularly wrong at the weekend, but I would imagine from what I saw at Tottenham that Steele will come back in. So that's one to keep an eye on. As is Julio Enciso, who scored a great goal at Bournemouth a couple of weeks ago and scored an absolutely fire goal at Stamford Bridge. Do you know what price he is, Suj?
4-4? 4-2?
He's 4-6.
Okay.
Do you know what position he is?
Forward.
He is. And interesting. So in terms of midfield for 34, I think most will head into a position of two Brighton offensive players, Fernandes and Rashford, Mo Salah. Now, that situation's changed a little bit because a lot of people bought Jack Grealish this week. And so for people like me who haven't got Mo Salah for 34, I'm looking at it going, how am I getting there? And most people, although I'm not, will have Harry Kane. Harry Kane downgrade and then a midfielder up to Mo Salah seems right. The interesting one might be for those who, like me, own Alexis McAllister. Now, in the game, obviously, Veltman picked up an injury issue. McAllister went and played a bit deeper. They shoved Pascal Gross to right back, who assisted Welbeck's goal, and put Enciso into one of the 10 positions, and he obviously came on and scored a brilliant goal as well. Ferguson also got injured. And we don't know the prognosis at this moment, but I think my take would be if the Veltman and Ferguson injuries are bad, and the explosiveness that Enciso showed at the weekend. Did you see the run he had down the flank as well when he hit the post?
I saw the highlights of it, yeah.
Where do they keep getting these... Well, I know where they keep getting these gems from. It's from South America.
I get it on this Enciso thing, but you heard De Zerbi's comments after the game. He was saying that other than the goal, he scored the goal and then he stopped playing. And he needs to not do that. Like
motivation is reminding him.
Yeah, I get it. It's just that I think it's just a reminder that he's a kid who's going to get bits and pieces of minutes. And yeah, it'll be fun to watch him do some damage if he does play. From an FPL point of view, I don't even know. I wouldn't. I'd rather just wait and see if Ferguson's available because he's the better pick at that price.
I'd have strong eyes on it, actually. I think it's really interesting. So, but I think more the point I meant is not necessarily about him. It's more the point that McAllister might become a problem here.
Yep.
And so I think that's a possible way I might go. Now, it might not be that it's Enciso or Ferguson that I go to as a cheap for, and I wouldn't be selling Kane. To be honest, I'd probably be selling Watkins. in 34 if Tony avoids the ban, because I'm happy to play Tony against Forest as a single player in 34. Although if I get Enciso in with the double, I'm probably going to pick him over Tony, ironically, and I'll have a full midfield. So, I mean, that would be a bit of a benching headache nightmare. That might make me sell Tony, in fact. But then I can go, obviously, McAllister to Salah, and that feels pretty strong. And I'd then probably be in a position I'd be happy probably to take the -4, because then they've got 2 home games in 34 for an Estupiñán. So, yeah, I think McAllister owners should be wary. March and Mitoma owners shouldn't be concerned at all. March obviously assisted the goal. Mitoma should have scored in the game as well. And as you said at the start, 26 shots, so dominant, such a good team. I'm going to go and back them. I haven't had a bet for a couple of years. I'm going to back them to win that cup this week. I just need to decide how much. Honestly, I'm going to do it.
Go for it. Everton 1, Fulham 3. Neither of us thought this was going to happen, that Fulham were going to be able to come and win this game. We thought it was Sean Dyche special, to be honest with you, and it wasn't. Thank God.
Old problems.
Everton to stay right down there in the bottom.
Old problems resurfaced. Obviously, Seamus Coleman was unavailable, and it's worth saying the one thing he obviously will bring to that back line is experience. But I don't think they're short of it with Tarkowski and Keane. Where they really struggle is balls over the top, LRC Daniel James's goal, which was Fulham's third at the weekend. He shoved Godfrey from left back to right back, which is what I'd thought they'd do, and played Mikalenko, because I think Patterson's been too short in match fitness. Godfrey might have picked up an issue, but the word on Coleman was that he'd probably be back available for Palace in any case.
I'm going to help him.
Neil Maupay played.
Way.
Go on, Neil Maupay.
I don't think he'll be playing next week.
Well, Calvert-Lewin might be close, actually. But I think the more notable one is, they feel like the last couple have gone to more of a 4-4-2 off the ball. And one of the things, who the fuck is drilling or farting? That's off-putting.
I can tell you exactly who's drilling.
Who's drilling?
So, obviously people have seen we're in the new studio space, right? We are getting new internet, like fast internet.
Oh, good.
Really fast internet.
Good.
They were booked at 1 p.m. to come and install.
Well, they're fucking early.
They're fucking 10 o'clock. The guy's drilling a hole outside. He's feeding in fibre cable. So.
Okay, sorry, that's not off-putting in any way.
Nah.
Onana didn't play. What I was going to say is...
that midfield looked a little weak.
No, when we looked at Burnley a lot last year, I spoke about Newcastle and spacing issues between midfield and defence. Burnley had it hugely under Sean Dyche last year when they played a 4-4-2. And obviously, Dyche had come in, it was kind of more of a midfield 5, if you will, verging on 4-3-3 at times. And it stopped the spatial issues. Playing with more just like a 2 in midfield off the ball, all those spatial issues are back. And if you've got clever players like Pereira and Willian who can play in the line, in between the lines like Buendia and Ramsey did for Villa, trouble. And Fulham deserved their victory. A few interesting things on their selection as well. And I think they'll largely be overlooked for free hitters, but there's a couple potentially on radar. Well, if Leeds get smashed again tonight...
People might consider a Pereira.
And I feel sometimes with free hits, it just arrives at a certain time where someone is just worth having for that 1 week who no one else is going to have. And someone like Harry Wilson isn't being spoken about at 5.7. I think it's quite interesting. Daniel James played through the middle at the weekend.
Yep.
They didn't play Vinicius. But obviously Daniel James can't play this weekend because he's on loan from Leeds. Yes. He's also ineligible. So I think with that in mind, Wilson almost definitely stays in the team. What I can't tell you is whether Solomon will come in or Decordova-Reid will come in, and if they change the system a little bit, or obviously Vinicius as well. But I can't see how Wilson, who was integral to Fulham's promotion charge last year, and we spoke about a lot in the summer, has obviously had difficulties this season. Might just be right place, right time for free hitters maybe, and he's on radar for me as a punt for this week to be competitive with, say, your Eze's, Elise's, Joel Linton's, Willocks. I think he's worth being part of that conversation as well, mainly because of their opponents being Leeds. Leno is another one who I think, has he got that capability to potentially have a haul in him this weekend? I think yes. I think for those short of budget, Pereira is obviously his ideal first sub or even play. Right, he's going to be on the pens, we think, with Mitrovic not available till 36. I don't think I'd go and buy in them now, but I think for free hitters, if Leeds play badly tonight, they'll get spoken about a bit more. And the narrative's changed by winning one game. And the same's happened with the one defeat for Everton, right? Because you could tell there was discontent back amongst that stadium. And it didn't really push hard to get back in it from 3-1, I don't think. And that disappointed Evertonians.
No. Well, let's talk about their opponents this week.
That fixture at Leicester in 34.
Getting bigger and bigger. But their opponents this week is Palace for Everton. And it's a away game for Palace. No, where is it? Good. It's at Selhurst, isn't it? Now, Palace keep winning the games. I told everyone last week to buy Eze. Some in my dreams, maybe, I think, somewhere. Everybody was thinking about Elise as a punt, and this is what happens sometimes. You go with Elise, and it's Eze that's the one that's popped up. Go Eze this week, it's going to be Elise that's going to be the one that's popped up. 3 wins on the bounce, though. Everton, obviously, we've just talked about as being a little bit shit at the moment. Are you thinking of adding any Palace?
Yeah. And
does it kind of help that Zaha won't be available? We think he won't be available, would he?
I wouldn't have thought so, no.
Yeah. So that kind of takes him off the table. So then does it make it a bit easier to go to Eze or Elise?
And why do they need to rush it? What I would say is, like, Everton need to change their system for the Palace game. If they don't, like Eze and Schlupp, who's not the best technically, but their positioning will give Everton trouble. And if it's Elise versus Mikalenko, there's every chance he'll have some fun out there as well. Jordan Ayew even as well. Jordan Ayew is the sort of random one. He'll be top goal scorer, top FPL scorer this week, isn't it? Or Edouard, who people don't go for.
I like your stat about Southampton only conceding 2 away goals. Well, they conceded 2 at home there. They conceded 4 at home to City the week before. They conceded 3 at home to you, and I know that ended up in a bit of a draw. So they have been conceding goals at home.
We're talking about Southampton.
We're talking about this Palace game, this Palace-Southampton game.
Oh yeah,
we're kind of talking about Palace Everton next week.
Southampton.
They've been conceding goals. It's not good.
Yeah, exactly. Again, spin your narratives either way on Southampton. We'll see what Matt says on COTC on Thursday, but you can't see them getting anything Friday night. In all seriousness. And then you're in a position where you're at least 2 wins behind everyone else to get out of it. And you look at their fixtures, aren't great either.
That 12th to 20th is finally started to
look at Leicester.
Spread.
You look at Leicester and you look at the next 3 fixtures they have, and although they don't feel like they're capable with a potential bounce for manager, Leicester could win the next 3 games.
Yeah.
If Southampton don't feel like they can put that together for me at the moment. They struggled to score goals. They played Aribo and Sulemana at the weekend. I've been calling for Sulemana to play. Aribo we hadn't seen for a while, but they had a couple of chances in the first half and that, but it's flat, isn't it? No, it wasn't a surprise to anyone who lost at home to Palace. And I think with respect to Palace, once you're at that stage, you're in a position of struggle. I can't see them putting 3 wins together in a row, and that's essentially what they're going to have to do more than anybody else to get out of this. Can't see it. For Palace, obviously unchanged from the victory against Leeds. 9 goals so far under Roy Hodgson, Suj, which is as many as they'd scored in their last 16 Premier League games prior to Roy Hodgson coming in. There's a number of interesting ones, I think, this week. And Palace are the sort of ones you can carry through as well. It's worth saying West Ham at home is the 34 fixture, which isn't bad. And 33, they have an away game that's not terrible, either Wolves. So if you're buying this week rather than free hitting, I think probably the enablers, after Liverpool being top priority, enablers of Palace is decent, particularly if you don't need to play it in 34. But if you did, West Ham at home is okay. And Palace's fixtures till the end of the season are great, right?
Yeah, they're decent.
Tottenham away is the hardest game.
Defensive cover.
It's probably not. It's probably Wolves away in 33. It's probably the hardest game they've got left. I think Johnston is interesting. 4.4 this week. The only thing I feel with him is a little bit like what I said. I feel like it's a 6-pointer, and therefore I'd rather go for a Gay or an Anderson, who has got more capability of the 15-pointer, if you will. Anderson 0.1 more. I think honestly you could flip a coin between the two of them. I did have a brief look at their XG over the last couple of games. Gay's obviously looks a bit better, but primarily because of that goal at Leeds. I don't think there's a lot to split them. Eze and Elise we've mentioned, and Edouard if you fancy it. Like if you're going really big and you're going with like your Salahs, your Kanes, and stuff like that. Can you hear me? Because I can't.
Oh, mate. What are we going to do with this really fast internet when it comes? I'm sure he only needs a couple of holes to drill, but yes.
Nico, is that going to come out on the audio?
whilst this drilling's
Nico's going, yeah.
Do you want to talk about Tottenham Bournemouth while the drilling's going on?
Oh, please.
Because what's more like a drill to your head? I'm not going to go Edouard. I do get the point if you're thinking. Look, thing is, as much as Crystal Palace are 3 wins, Everton a bit shaky. Everton are going to go and really defensively try and be difficult to play against. I don't see Palace slapping them 2-3, 4-0. If anything, 1-0. That's as good as it's going to get.
Excuse me. Would you go Eze or Elise?
Oh.
You know whichever one you go for is fucking wrong, don't you?
Yeah, like, are you trying to create a clippable moment where I say, go Eze, and it's going to be Elise? It's not, it's one or the other. I think I would probably go Eze.
Yeah.
He takes more of the set pieces, doesn't he?
No, not really. I'd need to check that, I'll be very honest.
I feel like free kicks, I've seen Eze take more free kicks.
No, but think of Elise's goal against Man United.
Yeah, true. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Toss a coin and hold your breath is my honest opinion.
Yeah, whichever one you go for would be wrong, so go for Edouard. No, I wouldn't. I think a defensive one is perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, Gahey or Anderson, yeah.
There's even a case, if you wanted to, if you're trying to steam in, say, 6 attackers from Arsenal, Liverpool, or perhaps just going with a Trent or something, and you want to get Kane and don't want Trippier or something like that, I think they'd be top of the agenda for the best of the rest in terms of if you want to go for a blanket defensive.
Wolves 2, Brentford 0. I thought Brentford would do all right in this game.
Did you really skip the Tottenham game? Thank you.
Nah. Oh, did I skip it? It's come up.
Thanks,
why? No. I tell you why.
Because we kicked off at 3:15.
3:15. It's below the list of games and SofaScore.
It's so weird.
As it would be. What happened? Was there like a traffic or something?
So Bournemouth didn't get to the ground until about 2:15.
Okay.
They had some problems because there was an accident somewhere or something.
Right.
Which they hadn't turned up at all.
Didn't affect their performance, mate.
No.
Let's do Wolves Brentford because it's there on the screen in front of me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Would it make you feel more comfortable?
Yeah, it's wrong order for Nico.
Oh,
Stop confusing him.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Tottenham 2.
Just get it out of the way.
Bournemouth 3. I didn't watch this game, obviously. What I did see was it was. I watched it through updates on the app, right? And when I saw that you were 2-1 down, I thought, here we go. This is quite amusing. But it was still a bit of time for you to come back into the game. I didn't see it go 2-2. I only saw it go 3-2. So I was like, this is interesting. And I went and saw, you've equalised in the 88th minute and then shit the bed after that. It made it quite amusing. Like, I don't take a lot of pleasure from your pain, but it's one of those where I'm like, shit. Thinking about the atmosphere at the club and everything that's going on with the fans and everything that's going on inside the stadium, you're like, wow, that's as awful a way as you can lose a game. If you've played crap in the second half, which I heard you were right in the first half.
Keep going.
To get back into it, 2 minutes to go, you're like, all right, we'll walk away with a draw, right? I'll take it now.
No one was walking away from that with a draw, mate.
No, at 2-2, you're thinking, right, done. 88 minutes, see it out, 2-2.
For us?
Yeah, for you.
No, mate. We went all out for the winner. That's why we lost.
and then to see it 3-2, you're like, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Firstly, Bournemouth, because I could spend an hour on Tottenham, which I probably will do on Tottenham this week, Suj.
Tottenham coming this week.
Yeah.
Phone Ricky.
Sorry state of affairs when West Ham have saved my mood, from the weekend. Firstly, Bournemouth, congratulations. I know we've got a number of Bournemouth listeners, actually. And congratulations, and especially for them, the manner of it, because they've conceded themselves a number of late goals this season. Tottenham won the reverse fixture in injury time. They lost to Arsenal very late on. They lost, 3-1 lead at Leeds and lost 4-3. They've not had a moment like that themselves this season, and this was it for them. So congratulations to them. I'm going to sound a little bit bitter here and say we've played better teams near the better of the bottom of the table this season than won. They were good, but there wasn't anything in Bournemouth that made me go, oh my God, they were thoroughly the better team. I think for sheer commitment and their ability to get back in the game, fine, they deserved the points.
We talked about 36 being probably enough They're on 33 points.
Yeah, they'll stay up now.
They got West Ham, Southampton, Leeds in the next 3. By that point, if they've got 36, 37 points, they'll feel they're safe. With 4 games to go, that's an achievement and a half for them.
Well, they've got players chipping in for goals as well, like Solanke and Billing. Obviously, if you had Haaland, Watkins and Solanke, that was the front 3 dream for the weekend. I feel like Harry Daniels, FPL Harry, might have that front 3, ironically, who's having an astonishing FPL season. They changed to a back 3 and matched up against Tottenham, and they did basically exactly what I thought. Remember when I said Chelsea will just completely overwhelm Tottenham back in February, and Chelsea will box off Tottenham's midfield too? That's what Bournemouth did. They played a back 3. Matthias Viña played left wing back, scored a lovely little goal, which came from a very bad Tottenham error. Tavernier played right wing back. He switched to left wing back when Adam Smith came on. They played with Rothwell and Lerma as 2 sitters. Joe Rothwell, good distribution actually, good little player. That's my first proper look at him really. And they played as Christie and Billing, obviously behind Solanke. Billing was quite quiet actually. The game passed him by. Not that he played badly, just wasn't that involved to be honest. Solanke carries a big threat up front. I think Solanke, Billing and Tavernier, but probably not in that system, are interesting for the weekend for free hitters at home to yourself. They're in good form, Suj, right?
Yeah, but I think we're going to go and win there.
Well, I think winner stays up, doesn't it? Probably.
We're on 31 points, probably.
Maybe not. I mean, if Bournemouth win, that's it.
If Bournemouth win, they're safe, 36 points. If we win, they're still probably safe.
Bournemouth after you have got Southampton and Leeds as well.
By the end of that, they'll be safe with 4 games to go, mate.
I can't think that they'll lose those 3 games.
No. And remember, we've got our Thursday, Sunday problem again as well. And it's not really a problem, but we're playing on Thursday. So that you'd think Bournemouth, I think Bournemouth is pretty even. I don't know what the bookies will make it, but I'd say it's pretty even.
Yeah, I think it's a tough call, and I think therefore free hitters will probably largely skip it. A couple of defensive ones. Neto we speak about quite a bit, 4.5 in goal. I think is a reasonable one this weekend. Jack Stevens at 4.3 is the, if you're really struggling for the money, is the absolute lock in that. So basically they switched it where Meffam had been playing on the other side of him at Leicester and changed to a back 3. Obviously, Meffam went to the right-hand side and Lloyd Kelly came in from left-back that played left-sided centre-back. But Stevens, they want to keep as central as possible at the moment. And Neil Grover has said this to us recently, that just very quietly, he's come in the team and actually made a bit of a difference for them. So if you're looking for something that's locked for Bournemouth defensively, that's not the goalkeeper at the weekend, Stevens at 4.3 would probably be your choice. For Tottenham, oh my giddy God.
Are you getting 0 Tottenham on free hit?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's all we needed to know, Nico.
There is.
You just clip that because James is going to get so many questions this week. What Tottenham should I get on my free hit?
No, I ain't. There is only one question about Tottenham on free hit: is you go with Kane or you don't go with Kane. There's literally nothing else to speak about.
People are going to ask you about Perisic and Porro all week.
What, away to Newcastle?
People are going to ask you about it.
I'm telling you,
should I go Porro? Should I go
fucking
Perisic? Are not. Perisic, I don't know. I think people will ask you this week. Between the fullbacks, wingbacks, they will
like
ask
Davis versus Dyer?
Yeah.
Perisic and Porro. I'm trying to think of a couple of offensive words beginning with P, so can you think of any?
Yeah, a few.
Yeah. Prick, and the other prick at wingback. Perisic had 19 crosses in the game, which is the most from an individual player in a Premier League game this season, actually.
How many connected with the Spurs player?
2. So 17 failed is also the most in a Premier League game this season. Of course, look, he did assist Son's goal. And it was his long throw, I think, that led to the second equaliser as well. Pedro Porro had an absolute fucking nightmare, mate.
I've heard that he thought he was prime Messi trying to dribble around everyone, but just isn't, basically.
When's Emerson Royal fit? And listen, you'll know I defend Emerson Royal.
Mate.
Honestly, people might remember I made this comment a couple of weeks ago. I said Tottenham don't concede goals down that side of the pitch. Go and look at the recent goals Tottenham have conceded in games. And look where a lot of them are coming. All 3 in this game. That side. No, the only debate for FPL managers is Kane, yes or no. I think my personal take on it this week is, as I said, I think Newcastle will destroy us. Now, listen, on Kane, I had this discussion on the FPL Dummies podcast that I guested on last night and said Tottenham have got Newcastle, Man United and Liverpool in the next 3. We could lose all 3 of them 3-1 and Kane could score in all of them. Because that's his capability, right? And if that's what you want and you're worried about the EO and stuff, of course, have him. If Tottenham do well at the weekend, Harry Kane will almost definitely do well, no doubt about it. But on a free hit, do I want to go down that route? No. There's a misconception at the moment about the idea of you can't have players from 2 teams playing against each other. Listen, Newcastle could beat Tottenham 3-1 and Trippier and Kane could both return quite well. Okay? Kane could get 6 or 7. Trippier gets a goal from a set piece or something. He'll get bonus for that if he gets an attacking return anyway, right? So he's on 9 or something. So can they both return? Yeah. But you're not maximising your potential, I don't think, by going that way. Not on a free hit anyway. I don't think that, my general take is I don't think you should go down that route on a free hit. You should go for the absolute maximum of possibility. And the maximum of possibility is that Newcastle destroy Tottenham. Trippier gets a few attacking returns and doesn't concede. If Kane scores, you lose points from Trippier as well. It's as simple as that. Can you generally have players who play against each other? Of course. It's unavoidable, particularly in double game week, for example. But my take this week is that I personally definitely won't be going with Kane. And part of the reason as well is it's not like short of other good choices this week.
Yeah.
In terms of forwards. Nunes, Isak, Watkins, Tony. And
Arsenal.
Jesus, exactly. Like, we're not short of choices this week. Iheanacho, if Leicester fucking start him. No, honestly, there's loads. Kane away to Newcastle is not one of them.
Yeah, agreed.
If you want to go with it, fine. Listen, honestly, we could lose 7-2 and he scores twice, right? We know that. But I won't be going for Kane. Just briefly, at the end of that game, I'm going to talk about the Sanchez stuff a lot on Tottenham. I'm not going to talk about it now, Suj. But there is an FPL relevance to that in the sense that he won't play. Now, Longley went off injured. So what's the solution? Well, if they decide to go with the same system, it's Tanganga. He'll have to play Tanganga ahead of Sanchez because Sanchez's confidence is going to be on the floor, and then you put him in that environment at Newcastle. It might be better put him in that environment rather than a home game at the moment. Definitely will be. By the way, every Tottenham fan who booed him, you're a fucking disgrace. You should never boo your own players, no matter what the circumstance, in terms of footballing ability, right? He's not going out there intentionally fucking up. We know he's not good enough.
Yeah.
But it's not his fault. So Tanganga coming into possibility if Longley's out. I think that if Longley's unavailable, I think Tottenham will play a back 4. And I think we'll play 4 attackers. I think Richarlison or Danjuma will start.
Okay.
And I think we'll go for it. And I think it's going to be funny for everybody else. Because Tottenham have been negative all season. Yeah, let's see what happens when they throw the kitchen sink at the opposition.
Yeah, I'd fear for you if you do that.
The system we finished with against Bournemouth, I'm not sure I can even explain it to you. I think at the end, we ended up with Porro right-sided centre-back, Dyer playing left-sided centre-back, Romero centre-back, Kulusevski and Perisic as wing-backs, Danjuma, Richarlison and Son all up front, and Kane playing in front of Højbjerg in midfield. You know, all those times we've had joke, oh, Kane's playing holding midfield. He fucking did at the end of that game, unbelievably. And the best bit is, in the moment towards, have you seen Richarlison's miss from the header? I mean, it's worth saying, and this is part where I say, oh, yeah, Bournemouth were brilliant. They weren't, deserved to win, but right before Bournemouth scored a winner, Richarlison misses a header from 6 yards out and puts it wide. A bit like Darren Bent against Portsmouth back in 2009, I think that was. But we, despite having all those players on the pitch, look back, the ball gets slung in from the left for a cross. We've got 5 forwards, not joking, 5 forwards on the pitch, and the person that's closest to winning the ball, who do you think it was?
Eric Dyer.
No, Romero. I'm sick of him.
Unhappy times.
You've got 5 forwards on the pitch. Why do you need to go forward? If you're going forward, who do you think is actually playing out from the back from you? It's a loose cannon, mate.
Unhappy times at Spurs.
Porro, like I said, defensively, bad. Horrendous.
Wolves beat Brentford 2-0.
Yes,
I didn't
deservedly
see that
so.
coming. I thought Brentford would give them a bit of a tougher time, but they've ended up winning to Diego Costa. Remember him?
So we said last week, didn't we?
Remember him?
Their last 12 goals has been scored by 12 different players.
Is it 14?
Costa made it 13, didn't he?
Yeah.
No,
Huang's back in the...
Huang has now got
list.
2 of Wolves' last 14 Premier League goals.
Fair play. But they're up to 34 points now, which is 7 clear of the relegation zone.
They'll be fine.
They're comfortable now and sitting there mid-table. Lopetegui's done all right. He's done okay.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised that they stayed with... They played a 4-4-2 against Chelsea, and they basically did the same at the weekend, which I was quite surprised about. They deserve big credit, actually, for winning both of these games and keeping clean sheets in them, because their best player has been suspended for them, in Neves, right? And they've coped with the problem really well. Gomez went and played in midfield with Lamina again, and the two of them have done absolutely fine. I'm sure Neves will come back in at the weekend, and that only makes them stronger, to be honest. So, yeah, they've done quite well. I'd imagine they'll probably stick with that, with the 4-4-2, until it fails, and they'll probably try something else. He's a good manager, Lopetegui. Doesn't get everything right, as we've seen. He made the tactical switch against Tottenham, it worked. He made the switch against Newcastle, it didn't work. But he's a good manager. And I think we could tell quite early on that he was, and they were going to be all right under him, actually. I wouldn't be that surprised they got beat at Leicester at the weekend. Leicester have got to win, haven't they? It's like time for joking for them is completely over. I think there's only one Wolves player I could honestly recommend for free hitters this week, and I think it's Toty Gomez.
Okay.
3.8, sit on the bench. If you're struggling for money. I don't think, despite Leicester's woes, what we've said about Wolves and the sharing of the goals, and I don't know where you'd go. Don't know where you'd go. Maybe if you really fancy the defensive one, like Kilman is a bit more. Gomez will probably play at the moment, actually, at 3.8. So I don't think you even need to do that. Brentford.
Home to Villa. In good form, Villa.
And Brentford are not, suddenly. Well, I think, like I said, I can't see me taking.
You go down the
Watkins
order of
out.
who are the best picks. Tony, but like we said, so many forward options. Would you rather have Tony over?
But in terms of consistency, you could definitely on a free hit, you could definitely go Tony and Watkins. That's completely different to Kane versus Trippier, for example. And yes, people can go Kane and Trippier anyway. But if you want to go Tony and Watkins, you're like, I think there'll be loads of goals in this. I can't split them. Fine, do that. You know the pair of them are both consistent, right?
Yeah.
Would the I guess them two and Kane would be the three high-scoring forwards that play this weekend. It must be.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, yeah.
I've got Tony in my team at the moment. Not for a free hit. I mean, he's actually still in my team. I don't think I have him this weekend, though.
No.
I think I'm going to go against it. I just think there's Isak, Nunez, Jesus, Villa's form. I think there's better options at the moment, but he showed in the Newcastle. I mean, he could have massively hauled at home to Newcastle, couldn't he?
Yeah.
That's a narrative about Kane, by the way. Newcastle's last 2 performances, they've not been great defensively. At St James's Park against Tottenham, I imagine it will be different. So, Tony, I think I'm going to overlook. Raya, I'm not going to go with because I'm going to go with Watkins, I think.
Okay.
But otherwise, he's a great choice. You know he's probably baseline at 4 points, isn't he?
Yep.
So you know, again, if the clean sheet's there, it's potential big hole. But I'm not sure I can see that at the moment. So I think I'm going to leave it be. They switched to a back four at the weekend, which we should expect. They might, because of the way Villa have been playing, they might go to a back three, which they wouldn't commonly do against a side like Villa, but I think they might. That might restrict Moreno particularly, maybe a little bit, but I think not having someone directly up against him, he'll just go high anyway. So again, it's another narrative you can put either way. But I think they'll probably play a back three against Villa. Might make Watkins' life a little bit more difficult. But Janssen been playing in the back three. He's out for the rest of the season. He's going to join Malmo in the summer. They might play Zanka in there. He's not great.
We now move on to Man City 3, Leicester 1. Comfortable as you want, really. Done by half-time. And they concede the customary consolation goal to your friend Kelechi Iheanacho. The back three changed. Walker and Laporte in for Aki and Akanji. I think probably with the opposition in mind, like thinking we can get away with these guys against Leicester. Not that they're bad players, Laporte and Walker. But the front six, however many it is, kind of sort of is picking itself at the moment, isn't it, really? Grealish, De Bruyne, Mahrez, Haaland.
No, I don't think that was Mahrez. I don't think it is.
No,
I don't think that is picking itself.
Stones is playing that kind of closer to Rodri at the moment, right?
First thing I say is I didn't watch this game.
Okay.
Because I went to Tottenham and they obviously gave me the raging fucking ump.
Sitting in a dark room where
I had to stay off my phone. I got off the train. It was 5 minutes for the bus. I thought I'd walk into the bookies, see what the score is, and I saw City were 2-0 up.
That's it,
and
done.
I went, well, that's it, it's finished. Yeah. So I got home.
And it was.
I got home, I grabbed Harry and took him down the park. So I didn't watch the game. And I wish I had, because it looks like a few interesting things happened with wide overloads, which is something that Guardiola goes back to quite a lot. And there were partnerships in these overloads, and they probably don't make sense. Walker and Mahrez on the right, and Bernardo and De Bruyne on the left. And what I can reference back is obviously to the Bayern Munich game, where obviously Stones have been coming to right back into holding midfield position. In the Bayern Munich game, he did it from centre-back. And I can only think it was probably similar to that again against Leicester at the weekend. Now, I might have that wrong. What I would say in terms of John Stones, great goal, and his importance to the team at the moment is obviously quite important. He's the most natural one to go into that midfield position alongside Rodri. Does it mean he's going to start every game left? Nope. Because they're still going to be in the Champions League. We spoke on the Sky Pod last Wednesday and said, in a couple of weeks, we're going to have a big chat about Aki and Akanji.
Yep.
Neither of them started.
No, I know, but I don't think that's... it's to do with Leicester and him thinking that he can get away with rotating a little bit against Leicester.
Loads of people would have taken hits for Aki this week.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Not specifically for Aki, but part of another move to get something else. And you've been unlucky with it, because I wouldn't have deemed him a risk not to start this weekend, actually. But yeah, game was finished after 25 minutes. I've seen a few people mention about it's the first time City have been out XG'd at the Etihad this season and stuff. Listen, Iheanacho's chance, which he scores, was bigger than a penalty. Right? He's never missing that. It's huge. And their chances after that, where they were a bit sloppy, they took key people off, like Rodri at 3-0 up. And Leicester had a few chances after that. Similar to when City were 4-0 up at Bournemouth and they started taking the piss and bringing on people like Gomez and stuff like that. It was similar. So I wouldn't read too much into that, other than to say, for Leicester fans, they probably finished quite happy, which will sound weird when you've obviously lost the game 3-1. But you're 3-0 down at the Etihad after 25 minutes, you are fearing serious demolition. So to be in a position where very nearly, Iheanacho hit the post after he scored as well, very nearly made it 3-2. I don't think they were in serious contention to actually get something out of the game, but probably would have finished with a nice 5. I think that's important for them going into the weekend, actually. They played a back 5. Soyuncu played. I did think they'd play a back 5, but I thought Johnny Evans would play. Soyuncu played. Dean Smith spoke about him quite highly after the game. It was very much a 5-4-1 from what I've seen off the ball. Iheanacho has to play at the weekend. Has to. Surely he plays.
You're not going to pick him when you're free hit, though, are you?
No, I don't think I can. I think if he starts the next 3 games, I think they'll stay up. There you go. Have that one for you.
The pressure's on, though, now. These are must-wins, these next 3.
Yeah, but if he gets the chances, he'll score. He'll score if he has the chances.
I fear they're capable of getting points in the next 3. I don't think they're going to get enough points. Say they pick up 5 points from the next 3. That only takes them up to 30 points. They'll probably still be in the relegation zone.
They're capable of winning these next 3 games. Wolves at home, Leeds away, Everton at home. It's massive. If they get nothing from them, they're gone. Yeah. It's probably going to be quite clearly. They don't have Dr. Tottenham in their last 4 fixtures to help them out either. I think Iheanacho is a great punt this week. I can't make the case for it, I'm afraid. I'd be cautious with Everson in the sense that for a week of obviously training and looking at it and not preparing for City and coming into these easier fixtures, I wonder if Ward might come back in. I don't think he will, but I also wouldn't be surprised if I saw the Leicester team, Danny Ward was back in it at the weekend. I think the only one really to consider offensively is obviously Maddison, who's mass disappointed. Loads of us actually sold him this week, but I'd see a lot of free hit teams with him in. And I can understand that because the capability is there. And he has that talisman status for them. Consideration for you?
No. Not even looking at them. Not even looking at them.
My take would be This is interesting about free hit, and I think Maddison falls into this. I think there are probably better choices in the likes of some cheaper players, Eze's, Elise's, Willocks, Joel Linton's, Buendia's, Ramsey.
I would even put Benrahma and Bowen. I'd rather go Benrahma or Bowen over Maddison.
Benrahma on penalties. Yeah, I just mean at that value at cheaper and stuff.
Yeah.
Harry Wilson at Fulham.
Yeah.
Loads of them. But the one that has the capability of the high ceiling is probably still Maddison.
Sometimes you pick the team over the player, and that I want Maddison, but I don't want Leicester. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I think I probably won't go with him. But I've seen him in a lot of drafts, a lot.
Let's move on to Sunday, James.
Yes, let's do that.
West Ham, Arsenal, can't remember the score. 2-2.
I very nearly turned it off.
After 25, 30 minutes.
No, after 10.
James, that's not even... it's funny. I was debating... let me tell you, I was debating not going to the game, firstly, and other things to do that were more valuable than watching my team get spanked 4 or 5-0 by Arsenal, because I was convinced that their quality of football and our ability to make defensive mistakes and capitulate was a match made in heaven for them. Ended up that the kids didn't want it. They weren't bothered about coming to the game, but my missus was like, I want to take them to the cinema to watch Super Mario Bros. I said, well, you go to Westfield and go to the cinema, fine. And while you do that, I'll go to the game.
Is that what
Super
you
Mario Brothers?
Bros.
Yeah. So, Super Mario Brothers. So they went to watch the film, and I went to the game. So I'm thinking, all right, it's cool. And I quite like going to games on my own. I just don't need to have a conversation with other people and have to worry about how slow and quick
Hi,
they're
Mum.
walking.
Hi, Dad.
Yeah. So I went to the game, and then you're thinking, all right, cool. Let's see what happens here. And we started the first 5 minutes pretty aggressive in terms of going in for tackles and pressing high, and Declan Rice set the tone.
Did that for 2 minutes against Newcastle as well.
Yeah, I know. And again, we conceded 2 goals, but the 2 goals we conceded, they were great football goals from Arsenal. Like, as much as Benrahma shouldn't...
also really bad from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, we should defend better, but they could have scored those goals against any team in the league with that slick football.
I'm not sure they'd have scored them against you if you played a back 5.
Maybe not. We might have had the extra man, but we played a back 5, and I remember we conceded a goal like that against Frankfurt where Fornals didn't track his runner. This time it was Benrahma didn't track his runner going in behind. All right, 10 minutes in, you're thinking 2-0 down, cricket score coming. And I had the same thought as you at that point.
What, leave?
What happens? What happens if it gets to 4 or 5? Because I've got nowhere to go. I've got to wait till their film finishes, and I timed their film to finish half an hour later than the game finishes anyway.
So you couldn't even fuck off on the train and go home.
So I'm like, do you know what, though? If I'm going to do it, I'm going to watch and appreciate how good Arsenal actually are playing, because what I was most impressed by was the fluidity of the positional player, their players, is incredible. Like Tierney dropping in midfield, Jesus is playing left wing, then he's playing right wing, and while he's off left wing, Martinelli's dropped into the middle. At some point, Partey's playing defensive. It was just, the movement of their players was something to behold, and the way that they all knew where they were going. For 30 minutes, we couldn't get a touch on the ball. It just was like,
Agreed.
wow. But plug away, you win the penalty, fine, and get into it. And suddenly it was like, you know what? We just got to be aggressive. And I saw from West Ham something that I hadn't seen, which was like the press was pretty aggressive. And Declan Rice was leading the press quite high up. Souček played holding, and Declan Rice is right up there. And Bowen and Antonio kind of sort of were doing the same. And Arsenal shit themselves a little bit. Where before it was like, we've got 10 yards every time we get the ball, we've got time. Suddenly they didn't. And rather than have composure, they're kind of booting it out into touch we're getting throw-ins or making mistakes or giving away set pieces, free kicks, fouls. And you're like, these guys are rattled. And I think it ended up being like the difference between City and Arsenal, because that's of Arsenal throwing away the league now, is when City have their foot on your throat, they'll kill the game. And when Arsenal had the foot on our throat, I don't think they killed the game.
You can't imagine City would do what Arsenal have done the last 2 games.
And the second thing is,
okay,
if someone comes back into it, City keep their cool and they just keep playing their way, and eventually they'll come back. Whereas Arsenal couldn't do that. They couldn't regain their composure and regain their style of playing. Like, there was a few periods in the second half where they had the domination. But I don't think it was particularly enough to say that they just kept their composure. And they were rattled. I saw Dan, FPL fella, at half time. I popped downstairs to say hi. He sits directly below me, and I was like, you know what? Give me a point, and I'll take this. It's 2-1 at half time. He goes, what, a point? I'll rip your arm off, mate. By the end of the game, we're saying, actually, you know what? We could have won this, today. And it just shows how much that mentality changed. And the atmosphere in the ground was like, all we saw from the players that was different was aggression and desire and work rate to get in their faces. And Arsenal, I haven't seen an Arsenal fan say, oh, we lost it, even off the penalty, which they didn't concede. We deserved it. I haven't come away from West Ham saying we deserved it.
No, and I mean,
all season. And this is one game where we did
Arteta,
deserve it.
who's one of the best whingers around, even he said, you can't play a game of football for half hour and expect to win it.
No.
Like, he was very honest about it, and he wasn't claiming it away from you. So, no, it happens a few times in a season to teams where I think just literally what happened was the game was too easy. It was watching the game 20 minutes in. It was like watching a pre-season game.
Training game. Couldn't get the ball.
No, they were in so much control. And they did start the game brilliantly well. I know a critical of you for the first goal, but the interchange and the movement on the first goal particularly, it is brilliant. Jesus dropping on the second goal, they spin away. Yeah, there's an issue with tracking runs off the ball. Forget that. But they were really good. And you're thinking, I'd taken Harry out and we got back a minute before kick-off. If I hadn't taken him out, I'd have taken him out after 10 minutes. I was like, I'm not watching this shit again with the way my team played yesterday. I was like, I've seen enough. And I left it on and I was off. People were saying, do you look at your phone during games? No, I was during this one. Because I wasn't bothered. It's like, they're going to win this. It's just how bothered are they about the goal difference and stuff like that. And then they gave a silly goal away where Partey's made an error. I don't agree with the narrative, by the way, that he had an absolute disaster yesterday, which is what people were saying. Because actually, I thought in the first quarter of the game, he was nearly the best player on the pitch, actually. But he made an error and he got booked straight afterwards, the error as well, and it got the crowd up and stuff. I don't think he tries to do what he did to Rice if the game was 0-0.
Yeah, I thought
it was a legacy of the fact that the game was so easy. I can get away with this.
Yeah, he passed his job interview quite well, Declan Rice. I think he got the job.
Yeah, it's just whether you get the money or not, right? So, and from there, it got to a point. They're probably sitting there at half time and going, suddenly they're in the same position they were in at Liverpool, and you're playing a very different opponent. Actually, ironically, Liverpool and West Ham stylistically have two things in common, which is difficult to deal with. They're not hesitant to put the ball in a box.
No, we were lobbing it in.
And Liverpool, let's say, aesthetically, a bit more interesting than West Ham. I mean, the equalising goal, which obviously happened straight after the penalty. So you think they've got the penalty, I think they're in trouble here. I was watching the second half, I think if West Ham can get to the last 15, 10 minutes, and then if Arsenal go too deep again, you've got a chance of getting something. They get the penalty and you think, that's finished again. They'll go and win 3-4-1 from here. And then to have that where Saka's not scored, anyone can miss a penalty, it happens. And then you score straight afterwards with this most ugly of fucking goals.
I didn't celebrate either goal.
No, I thought it was offside as well.
A first goal, I was like, okay, yeah, we've got a penalty, but they're battering us so badly. It's like a nice consolation goal, great. The second one,
you've probably got a good view.
Directly above
I was going to say, yeah.
And I had like one eye on Bowen and one eye on the pass, and I was like, it was not a bit offside, it's a metre offside. Like, I felt like he was well off rather than
2 metres
marginal.
onside.
Crazy. And then I was like, oh, maybe I will celebrate all of a sudden.
Yeah, I didn't celebrate. It didn't feel right as well. And Ramsdale, who we gave massive props to, particularly from that save from Salah last week, he should save that, mate. Literally unquestionable that he should save that. And then from there, did they do enough to win the game? They had certain points that felt like they had too many cooks on the pitch. And it was something really interesting in terms of Jesus in the game. And I think it depends how you read this. So there was times where Jesus' involvement for Arsenal in terms of relieving pressure, he's amazing at that. He works so hard. But the one thing I do feel about them is I feel like with him, they lose a bit of control. I don't know if there's something in them that's more a priority to get him on the ball. Now, quite often he drops
all over
way
the place.
deeper. I mean,
yeah.
I'd written it down here. He had 50 touches in the first half.
He was everywhere.
Which, is that a lot, James? It's the second most of any player in the first half yesterday. Now, that's not normal for a number 9.
No.
You can say drop deep and drop short and stuff. Second most touches. He does also give a credibility to Arsenal's dominance at that point. But I wonder if he was doing it because to quicken them up, give them a bit more control. But they feel a bit more chaotic when he plays. I'm not being critical of him. I think he's a brilliant player and he's been so good for them. But when he's not played recently, I felt like they've had more control. I don't know if there's anything in that. I'm happy to have feedback from Arsenal fans on what they think on that. And that, from an FPL perspective, Jesus is definitely not a bad choice for this week. I mean, you even said is captainable even.
Yeah, 100%. Just because I think Arsenal will do particularly well. I don't think it's panic stations for Arsenal in that if they beat Southampton 7 points and if they get any kind of result, a draw or a win at the Etihad, it's in their hands, they're in control and they'll feel a little bit more stable. But yeah, not great.
Be very clear, if Arsenal win at the Etihad next week, and they're very capable of doing so, they will win the league. But it's gone from a position of them probably thinking, draw's okay here. And listen, I think Arsenal fans would take a draw at the Etihad if you could offer it to them now. But then it really puts pressure on things like Newcastle away. You think suddenly that goes from a position of going, you can draw that to you'll have to win it.
Yep.
That's what's changed.
Do you know the other thing is mentality-wise, start of the second half, time wasting, a lot of clubs do it. And they did it at the start of the second half, extra long on goal kicks, extra long on throw-ins, staying down a little bit. And you think...
Liverpool last week had a player go down every time Liverpool had a shot.
And you're like, it's the start of the second half. You're that much better of it. If your mentality is, let's keep it tight and see out a 2-1, it's wrong. You should be going for a 3-1.
It is playing a team like you.
Yeah, they should have been thinking, let's get it 3-1 or 4-1 and dead it. Not... let's long it out, slow the game down. And I think that says a lot about the mentality there.
Well, no, I think they just fell into, and I spoke about falling into old habits that they have last week. I think it was avoidable yesterday. And, if you're trying to slow the game down at Anfield, of course, anybody with common sense is going to try and slow that game down as much as possible. Playing against a team that also wants to slow the game down and make it quite negative, like yourselves, in a game like that against a team like Arsenal, yeah, you need to keep the tempo lifted up rather than, we're conceding throw-ins in the channel and West Ham weren't in any rush to take long throws. We're going to make the maximum of their opportunities and stuff. So, yeah, I think Arsenal fans would be more disappointed today than if they'd have lost at Liverpool and obviously won yesterday. I mean, it stands to reason they'd have an extra point on the board. It's psychologically not winning 2 in a row and from the position of being 2-0 up in both. I spoke to Clayton on this on the Tottenham arse when you were on holiday.
Yeah.
We replaced the ham with the arse. And I said to him, you can lose at Liverpool, but if you do, you can't fuck up at West Ham afterwards. You've got if you're trying to win the title, there's no room for error now. It's not like the days where you could go back 20 years ago. United's treble winners won the title with 79 points.
Yeah, when they flashed up the fixtures at the end of the season.
Like now, it's like you've got to hit 90, basically.
I feel like City could win every game between now and the end of the season. Looking at
Manchester City will not win every game left.
Yeah, but it wouldn't surprise me. It looks like they could. Their toughest game looks like Brighton. Arsenal aside,
I still think City need to. I still think City need to beat Arsenal. If they do, then it becomes in City's hands, doesn't it? What a game that will be next Wednesday. I think, by the way, it could be mental. Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked.
Do you know,
if it's 3-2, 4-2.
The thing I was thinking
like
walking away from the ground was how gutted I am to be missing the Arsenal City game because we play Liverpool at the same time at home, and I'm going to.
Well, don't miss it.
Well, I have it on my phone while I've got Liverpool West Ham in front of me. I could make good money selling my West Ham Liverpool tickets, to be fair. But I want to watch that Arsenal Man City game. Maybe I have to put it on record, switch everything to do with anything off.
I'm not sure I want to watch it.
Yeah, I know, James.
I will too.
Let's talk about Man United, Nottingham Forest. There's plenty of time on Champions-elect or not, as Arsenal may be. Comfortable, this one. I think Bruno Fernandes owners are going to be coming away from this thinking, where's my points? Because of the absolute domination, the game, chances created, passes, touches, crosses, everything except goals and assists.
Yeah, I mean, look, one of the debates this week was to sell him for a hit because of where he'd been playing, obviously, the last few games. Yeah. And the irony is that if Sabitzer had not got injured in the warm-up, then he probably would have played deeper again. As it turned out, it looks like the right decision to have kept now. It's always, what I always say, it's not about the result of what happens, it's the process of the decision. And the process of the decision now is, if I'd have sold Bruno Fernandes, I'd be sitting there right now thinking, oh, fucking hell, I might need to get him back, you know?
Yeah.
Because, it was a bit of a joke that he didn't return yesterday. He was brilliant. Personally, I've not watched all of United's games. It's probably the best I've seen him play this season. Was really, really good. Helps massively by obviously Eriksen and Casemiro being back. They played 17 games in all comps, and really a lot of them are Europa, where all 3 of them have played, won 15, drawn 2.
Wow.
Which is really important for them, considering what's happened at centre-back. They've lost Martinez, we know, for basically the rest of the season at least. Varane, we don't have the prognosis yet. Obviously, Luke Shaw's had a problem, but I would guess that Luke Shaw will probably play in Seville on Thursday, and he should be fine for 33 and 34, we think. They've got a problem defensively, but that midfield's going to help. Interesting that Maguire played right of Lindelof. So Maguire has regularly played right-sided centre-back for United this year, but he's normally had like Martinez or Shaw on the left side of him. When Maguire and Lindelof used to play together a lot in the past, it was always Maguire left of Lindelof. And I just found that really interesting that Ten Hag decided to still stick with that. I'm not sure that Maguire will play regularly, despite them not having a huge number of options, actually. And I do think it's a possibility, despite his return, and United fans can correct me if they think this is horseshit, that Casemiro might still end up playing centre-back and Fernandes might still end up playing a deeper role. But we didn't see that yesterday. But I don't think we needed to see that against Nottingham Forest. We might in some other games. United should have won far more comfortable than the scoreline reflects. Anthony's obviously got a nice little haul, but that was his first goal since his first 3 games, I think. He's a frustrating, divisive player, but looked quite good yesterday. Martial was lively.
A lot of people saying that he's looking sharp at the moment.
He did. We're
all going to dive in. He's going to do a bit all right, and then he's going to get injured, and we're going to...
He still looked like he needed a shag when he got subbed off. He still looked pissed off, but actually played really well. He missed one header just before he came off that he absolutely had to score. But his involvement in the first goal was really good, winning the ball. Fernandes plays the pass quickly, and he strikes it well with his left foot. And Anthony does well to follow it in and score. Good from United, because I think pressure on, and they'd have certainly felt they wanted to take advantage of Newcastle's defeat particularly, but also Tottenham's defeat. I think they'll be more conscious of what's happening with other teams rather than Tottenham. Tottenham aren't the challenger for United. I know United fans might think, well, we finished Tottenham off, you go there next week, and even if we beat United next week, it won't make a difference because we ain't getting enough points. But a Brighton might, and they should be conscious of that. But yeah, I think for Fernandes owners, don't hate the fact you didn't get the points. I think be happy
that he's so dominant playing well.
But I do have an inkling that it could change again. It shouldn't, by the way, on the way that midfield free played. But they've got more options. If Sabitzer's back fit and you've got McTominay, you've got Fred, you've got more options in that area rather than just playing Maguire at Lindelof at centre-back. And that's why I have a little concern that it's possible. The other option is obviously Shaw can play left-sided centre-back. But then Malacia's got a problem now as well. I don't think he's overly convinced at left-back either.
Yeah, big week for United, being that, like, by the end of this weekend, they could either be through to semi-finals and final of the FA Cup and Europa League, or they could be out of all cup competitions and that's it, and they've just got a handful of league games to play for the rest of the season.
And then if they lose at Tottenham, with Villa and Brighton to play straight afterwards, then there's pressure on. But I think they've got enough offensively.
I agree. I think they'll go through in... I don't think the FA Cup, but I think they'll go through in the Europa.
Yes.
Sevilla not in good shape.
They've got... Fernandes is suspended for that in Seville. They've got issues. Rashford's... Ten Hag's words after the Seville game was that he'd have a chance of being available for the second leg. There's another one we should have some information for
sitting there on my bench.
In terms of next week. I think for those who free hitting, most will have kept. And if he's back available 33 and does well at Tottenham, then there's every chance people want to steam back into him for 34. So keep that in mind, obviously, if you have sold. For Forest, wow. Really bad.
Yep.
So open. So, I mean, Navas was brilliant in goal. I don't know how many saves he made, but it felt like he made a ton. So all over the place defensively. They keep changing the back line. They keep changing the midfield. They played a back three at Villa, and so they played a back three again. But although they played a back three again and only made one change to that back three, they changed the whole back three. So Iheanacho went from left-sided centre-back to centre-back. Felipe went from centre to right-sided. Then they brought McKenna in instead of Worrell. McKenna played left-sided centre-back. They changed both central midfielders in front of that, where Freuler played. Danilo played a deeper role. He played in there. Then they changed up front and went back to the split forwards, played Awani left-sided forward, Johnson right-sided forward. When they had a good run, it felt like they'd finally found consistency in their team selection and what they were doing. It's all over the place again now. And really, there was a difference between these two teams that was way bigger than 2-0. And I can't see them staying up, I'm afraid, with what the fixtures are awful as well.
James, that's a wrap of the games. There's still one more to go. I'm sure we'll get it covered off this week at some point. But do you want to let the listeners know what we have content-wise coming up this week? Because it's mixed to the regular schedule in terms of a ton of correspondence on this week, as well as some of the more regular stuff that we have as well. I've just been through some of the questions on Twitter. There aren't many, but there are a couple that I think we could and should briefly cover off.
All right, okay. Triple clash of the correspondence this week. Brentford Villa with Tom Med and Lee Jackson tomorrow. Also, as I did mention, I guested on the FPL by Dummies podcast last night, which is Tom's pod with Cam. You can get that in your ears. That's out. Listen to now if you want to. We refer to Dr. Tottenham quite a lot, which is a tagline that I've stolen from Ricky Saunders, who's not on Clash of the Correspondence this week. You don't want Tottenham players on your free hit. I saw that.
Is that your new nickname?
What?
Dr. Tottenham?
That's what Ricky calls us.
Calls the club Dr. Tottenham.
Dr. Tottenham. So basically, when you're in trouble, like Newcastle had a bad week, like Dr. Tottenham will see you now. Like he'll make you better, basically. He'll fix your problems. I know Everton fans think that about themselves quite a bit as well. Thursday, Clash of Correspondence is Arsenal versus Southampton with Adam Pritchard and Matt Samuel. Friday is Liverpool versus Nottingham Forest with Dan Lord and Mark Southerns. And obviously it is a Friday deadline, so we'll get that out as early as possible for you on Friday morning. On Patreon this week, we've got a Q&A today. Money in football tomorrow, Suj, is on something you wanted to cover on the future of television rights in the Premier League.
Well, yeah, only because a few rumours are going around now in terms of subscription service and that kind of thing. And I think it'd be fun to play around with the numbers and see, would it work? Could it work? How much would they charge?
Bring the numbers.
I'll do my best.
Good man. Wednesday is Tottenham, and yeah, it needs no build-up. Some funny stuff I'm going to tell you about the West Ham game as well, by the way.
Cool.
From my experience watching it, looking after Harry at the time. Thursday is not going to be a quiz this week. I'm going to do an Ask James stream. That'll be available to patrons at all tier levels as well. And Friday will be our Game Week 32 differential show. Well, I imagine, subject to team news, me and Suj will probably reveal our free hit teams.
Yes, that'll be on the deadline stream. You'll be able to... Are you going to put them out on deadline stream or differential show?
Oh, both. I'll reveal it on the Patreon pod, and it'll be on my deadline stream as well. A number of people
have asked in the questions, can you do a free hit draft show? And the answer is, well, we will.
Just covered it all.
Kind of, sort of, yes. And you'll be able to see them on the streams on Friday. And in addition to that, Jane, for the advanced tiers, is doing it on Patreon on Wednesday. So
I don't know. Literally, I don't know what I could add in this.
It won't be the longest pod, will it?
More than this, like.
Get your pen and paper out and re-listen. But yes, if you want to support the show, patreon.com/planetfpl. We'd love to have you over there as part of the community. And there's all sorts of chit-chat around free hits and that kind of thing.
I think what I would say is...
in Slack.
I think I'll treble Liverpool, treble Arsenal's definite.
Treble Newcastle.
I think I will go treble Newcastle. I think I'll go double Villa.
Partridge in a pear tree. Maybe Palace for fun. Yeah, and a lot of the questions have been around free hit. There are a few here. Let's say Chanel Cement, but it's Shane L something. Anyway, if he makes a transfer before using his free hit chip in the same game week, would that transfer stand for the following game week? No. Free hit wipes out everything you've done in the week leading up to it. So
yeah, and you can't be rolling if you were thinking of rolling a transfer. So we always get it every year. If you ever use a chip, you've only got one free transfer on the other side. Just think of it like that.
Yeah. Javo says or asks, what skill do each of you have that not many people know about?
God. I was going to say eating, but I think everyone knows. I used to be quite skilled at drinking, not so much anymore.
Yeah, I've got a few cheeky little skills, but do you know, my latest one that I think actually is developed into a level where I'm pretty fucking good. I'm really good at Excel.
Is it?
Really good at Excel.
Do you want to do my planner?
Your plan's too simple. I'm talking about pulling data in from like 4 or 5 different data sources and automating it. Yeah.
All right, teach me that shit.
I've learned a little bit about getting queries into Power Pivot and data models. Yeah.
Teach me shit.
It won't help you. It won't help you. It's more for like thousands of rows of data. If you had all of the statistical data from Spurs in like 5 different spreadsheets for the last 15 years and you wanted a way of analysing it all quite efficiently, I could help you with that. But just putting together the next 8 weeks fixtures.
Did you know now that we've made the most errors leading to goals this season with 8?
And we've made that in Newcastle.
I couldn't work. I couldn't work out how many of the 3 goals at the weekend were included in that.
I feel like that's a crap stat because we made 5 errors against Newcastle that led to goals, mate. No way. FPL Tractor. Why do we play this game? Thing is, you can't let this game take
fun for enjoyment.
I owned Saka in 2 formats of the game. Sky.
Yeah, I captained him in Sky as well.
I didn't captain him in Sky. I captained Jesus. I decided to go a bit different with Jesus. But do you think I gave a shit when he missed that penalty? Do you know, like it's hard sometimes. I had 5 Arsenal players in Sky against us, and I couldn't care less.
Good.
By 50, 60 minutes into it, I was like, actually. But then it's different. I didn't give us a chance. So it took 50, 60 minutes before I was like, we might get something out of this. Let me cheer him on, because I spent the first 50 minutes thinking it's going to be a procession. But yeah, good. And I want to give a shout out last, James, to Nathan Warmore, who says, and it's not a question, but it's a statement.
Uh-oh.
And it leans itself to your famous hashtag. People talk about the Newcastle double up. I'm now tripled up on Villa and Palace. Shout out, Nathan. Play it your way.
Good luck, Nathan.
Indeed. And to everybody
nothing wrong with that.
No, exactly not, mate. I like it.
But I don't know how you don't go treble Liverpool and treble Arsenal this week. At least I don't know how you do that.
Indeed. And on that note, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode.
He say he was on free hit?
He doesn't. He just says, people talk about Newcastle double up. I'm now tripled up on Villa and Palace.
I mean, if you're building through, fine. I mean, if he's managed to sort of take a few hits in for Palace players recently, he's probably pretty happy. There's every reason he can have like a Watkins, Buendia and Martinez or Moreno or Mings or something like that. So, yeah. I don't think 3 hitters will be ending up with 3 Villa and 3 Palace this week together.
Nathan, tweet us and let us know whether that's your team.
You definitely want some Newcastle kids.
Or your 3-hit team. Listeners, thank you so much for your support. Stay tuned by hitting the subscribe, notification bell, follow, whatever it may be. It all helps with the show. And we'll be back at you tomorrow. Stay safe. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Be nice to each other. Play it your way. Cue music, please, man-child.
Feels epically long. What is it, 140?